Hey guys, I'm Mr. Jr. here, aka Mustached Tom, here to review the movie Happy Death Day 2. So, if you have not seen it, I also did a review of Happy Death Day, and relatively, I did enjoy the first movie. In fact, out of the movies that have come out of this particular company, I suppose, or whatever it goes by, haven't really been successes in a pretty large chunk for the most part. And when I saw Happy Death Day, I thought that that movie really stuck out among the other films that this thing was creating. So I was actually really looking forward to what the sequel had to bring to the table. Now, the first thing I will note is that after seeing the trailer over a lot of times, I think this movie was one of the bigger movies I've seen promoted recently, especially on YouTube, of all things. The way that they promote it is that the killer is now going after the others, and to an extent that technically is true, but it does not go in the routes that I was expecting. It does a kind of 180 from expectation. However, because I feel that this movie is good, and I do believe that this movie is good, I actually like that this movie trailer lied to me. It's fantastic. It's some of the best trailer material I like to see is when a trailer lies to me, but it's good lies. It's lies that when I see the movie, my expectations are broken, but in a better way. The movie does not become worse for it, it actually enhances the movie experience for me. So good job on the people who made the trailers from this movie. That is how you make a trailer. That is how you throw people off, and that is how you don't spoil people in your trailer and reveal every super intense thing that is going to happen. Good job. Someone finally starts to get it on Happy Death Day to you. So there you go. But enough of praise on the trailer. Let's actually talk about what happens in the movie. It's time for some recap, y'all. So, spoiler alert for those who have not seen Happy Death Day 2. So, we begin this movie following one of the characters who we weren't following in the first movie, named Ryan. He was the Asian character who essentially barged in on Tree and her boyfriend. I believe his name is Curtis or something along those lines. I have it in my notes later, so I'll fix that mistake. But essentially, he goes in, he gets kicked out, and he proceeds to head into this science room where they are working with these two other new characters to essentially work on a way to slow down time. However, after he makes his way out, after various strange occurrences happen, by the way, getting freaked out by this person that wants them to sign something, and this hobo that wants like money or something, and then almost bumps into a skater, then the person that wants a signature, people yelling at each other, and then they'll bump in, and then working on the building, or the project. So he gets expelled, so he's like getting ready to leave, and as he's leaving, he sees that a picture was sent to him. So he goes and looks up to where the picture came from, and he starts to follow it, heading into this darkened area. And he starts to look around and gets another picture taken and starts to continue to follow along. So he heads in, hearing a noise, heading towards this door, and he gets spooked by one of his friends, one of the other scientists that he was with, and then when he has his back turned, he is stabbed from behind. But when that happens, the day starts over for him instead. So he starts to re-experience all the things that just happened to him and he kind of catches on pretty quickly, probably a little bit quicker than Tree did in the initial movie, that this day is indeed repeating itself. So when he goes into Tree and Carter's, bumps into them, he tells them that he is repeating the same day over again. So Tree, already having experienced this, wants to help out, and so does Carter, or Curtis, whatever his name is. So, the two of them and him join forces, and they proceed to go to a football game or a sport game, and so they proceed to get the lights closed on them, and they get separated, and thus Ryan proceeds to flee from the scene as the killer kind of makes his presence known specifically to Ryan, and somehow no one else sees this knife that he clearly pulls out, which is something I kind of am skeptical about in this movie, but whatever. So Ryan ends up fleeing into this lower area beneath, and they're fighting with each other, and then Tree and Curtis come back in and essentially help Ryan out, and they see, with a bizarre twist of events, that the person underneath the mask is another version of Ryan. So apparently this is a Ryan from an alternate dimension, and he has come back to kill himself to prevent him from making that machine work in the first place. However, the machine is indeed tampered with, and he's about to get shut down. So the main Ryan, the one we started the movie with, gets pissed off, doesn't want to deal with it, turns the machine on, and everyone gets hit by the blast. From this point moving forward, we cut to our main character, Tree, who now goes all the way back to the day of her birthday from the first movie, and it was a really clever way to once again use those sequences from the first movie, however with a slight twist. It would appear that now she is in this alternate dimension herself, where everything is slightly altered. And among those altering moments, she essentially sees that her boyfriend is no longer her boyfriend, but this other girl that she kind of has this issue with. Her name is Danielle, and she sees that her mom is in this universe alive, which was not a case in the first movie. And of course she cries, and in this moment where they reunite and have their scenes, I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead a bit, but every scene where it is her together with her mom in this little porch area, or whatever, a diner I suppose it is, even in the first movie, in this movie, I think those scenes in particular are what make Happy Death Day work so well. Among the incredible acting that I said existed in the first movie, I do also believe that the writing in the first movie was pretty strong, particularly around scenes like this, when it pulls at your heartstrings, getting to those emotional moments, and really hitting home with this character, actually building on this character. And again, I had said it when Happy Death Day came out. I had said that for this type of company, you know, the vast array of movies it has made for a long time, I had not felt like it had made a movie where you were cheering for a character in the movie. You always wanted, you're more tempted to opt to vote or swing toward, just kill everybody, who cares, we don't want anyone to survive. You're kind of rooting for the killer. However, that was not the case for Happy Death Day. Again, through the acting, through the writing, this Tree character became a very strong character, and now at the end of the movie, we were, at least I was particularly rooting for her, and that continued in this movie as well. So incredible scenes with that going on. So, with that being said, she eventually does get to a moment where she kind of does get the machine, this machine that they have been working on, up and starting to get that up and running. So, she meets with them, and then, she meets with Daniel, who, has her own little moment. However, she also sees that now that the timeline has been messed with, is that the killer, the one at the hospital, has now left and it got out, and now she has to deal with that because she feels so obligated to take care of the Lori situation. So she grabs an axe but ends up getting arrested by this police officer, who ends up getting stabbed and killed. Tree ends up fleeing and bumps right into Lori, and then the killer that we see actually ends up killing Lori. So even the killer itself has now changed positions, because remember, we are dealing with an alternative dimension. So Tree is fleeing for her life, she ends up falling off the roof and dying, and of course repeating the day again. So she immediately grabs Ryan and goes to the lab. And she had heard from the two scientists about her killing herself, and eventually that being a part of the solution. So she actually now does take that to heart and actually starts to process the research that they are doing, while proceeding to continuously kill herself in a montage of ways, via jumping out of airplanes, drinking bleach-like material, skydiving without a parachute, so on and so forth, jumping into a leaf blower, or chip cutter, or whatever that device is, and so on and so forth. So, his name is Carter. Sorry, I had that way later in my notes for some reason. However, after all the various amounts of suicide, her body starts to feel significantly weaker. In fact, to the point where she needs to be taken to the hospital. So she does get indeed taken to the hospital, and kind of deals with this doctor, and then ends up saving Lori this time. So she takes out this guard and then grabs his gun and proceeds to move along on her own, I think, at this point. Or Lori's following her, I forgot which one it was. Anyway, I think she's on her own. Anyway, she follows this blood trail, yes, to see Lori was already ahead and killed. The killer, the one from the news, ends up trying to shoot at or attack her. So Tree tries to take on this killer, and she kind of screws it along, but manages. So eventually, she kind of gets herself out of there. Forget how, but she does bring in this lab crew, and she says that she wants to stay after, I think they reset at this point, but the power in computers still isn't running the necessary power in order to fulfill the requirements of whatever complicated thing that they make up in the time travel sequence. So she proceeds to tell Carter that they were together in this other universe, and he starts to fall for her all over again. And again, she then has another great moment with her mom in dealing with, does she pick her mom? But in consequence to pick her mom, she has to deal with the fact that all of her mom's memories and the memories that are associated with that aren't hers. They are technically the alternative version of hers, which technically she doesn't feel like it is her. It feels like a almost completely separate character, if anything else. So they have their moment, and then Carter and Danielle have their little moment. And so afterwards, Tree warns her parents to get out of there, like out of their little area. I forget why she did that specifically, but she's like driving along with her parents and wants to get to the hospital to warn Lori about the killer. So the mother talks to her with some more about her, like these memories as I mentioned, and how, again, we see or hear the main character Tree say that they aren't her memories. And how the mom took a chance on her dad, and we get all this, like, talk about, like, you know, chances and life and all that good stuff. So Tree sees the news and sees that Carter had ended up rushing ahead to the hospital and ended up getting killed. So she's like continuously trying to call Ryan to stop the machine. She rushes into this like electrical circuit area and shocks herself and wakes up the next day. So she immediately books it to Lori, tells her that she doesn't have to deal with this doctor guy that she's been yelling with. She talks with Danielle, apologizing to him, and proceeds to walk with one of the other characters. I think it was one of the scientists. And talking to her mom, and really, again, having another one of those moments. And again, it's just phenomenal. The music in this part, it is just beautiful. It is phenomenal. It really touches with the moment that is happening here. So we see that the teacher unplugs the device, steals it away, and Tree wants, with the crew that she has come to now know really well via traveling back in time various times, to get the device back. So the movie kind of shifts directions again, almost becoming a sort of re-heisting the thing that was stolen type of movie, for at least a brief moment. So Daniel acts as the distraction for the teacher, and they're able to get the key, make their way to the device, start to bring it back, but Tree wants to still try to do the right thing in this dimension, even if it might not make a difference in her dimension. Holds the cop hostage, takes his gun, tells him to, warn everyone else. kills the killer instantly, like just shoots him down. Meanwhile, while that is going on, the others are blocking the doors. The teacher has found out everything and is brought to these police guards that he has brought various times before to stop these kids from their time travel. And we see that the ex that Laurie had officially dumped at this point had become on the new killer, and the wife or girlfriend he had on the side was the secondary killer working with him now. However, the doctor kills her and proceeds to almost kill Tree. But Ryan manages to get his way back there to the hospital somehow, and manages to cut in as a distraction, so Tree runs for it. And Laurie did get shot, but she did survive. So her and the new killer, Greg, the doctor, fight it out. And she ends up with him in this room, with behind him is like this device that like pulls in magnets. So he has the gun, so he gets pulled in when the magnet turns on. She has a screwdriver in her hand, and she lets go. The screwdriver piercing into his heart, killing him dead. Laurie gets to live even though she was shot. The cops barely manage to get in, but one of the scientist guys uses the fire extinguisher. Carter and Tree share their kiss as the device goes off, and this allows for Tree to wake up in her current timeline. And that is where the official movie ends, before an after credit sequence where we learn about how Danielle is going to take on this whole experimental time traveling thing in an apparent third movie that I suppose that they are going to be working on. And that was Happy Death Day to You. And my goodness, did I enjoy this movie just as much as I enjoyed the first movie. Even with all of the time travel, even with all of that whole nonsensical nonsense of time travel, I think they really pulled it off. And again, I have to give all of that credit to two very important factors: the writing and the main character, Tree. Once again, this actress totally kills it as Tree here in this movie. She has cemented herself quite thoroughly in this very clear franchise that they're trying to build up. And I am actually really looking forward to if they make a third movie, which apparently they're trying to do. I actually really hope that they get to do it, and I hope that they get to bring everyone back again for a third time, because she absolutely slaughters it as a great character. She has great character moments. She is a good survival character from a slasher movie, and I think that is something that I have not seen in a really long time. You know, when I think of a heroine that survives slasher movie, I think of Ripley from Alien. I think of I can't remember her name at this point, but the girl from Friday the 13th, the original, her continuously coming back and doing her thing. You know, these heroines that survive these thrasher flicks and become these strong, independent women, or at least, you know, two of them did, and she, you know, Tree does get her man, but even with that, I still think that these movies are absolutely phenomenal. It has brought back something that I have severely missed, and that is that sort of strong woman character in a particularly good thrasher slash, and now they're kind of introducing like this whole sort of scientific like aspect to this movie, but I think that's totally fine. again, I think with them keeping steadfast with this good writing and having the actors absolutely kill it, I think if they keep those two things in momentum, I think they have a really strong franchise. I think that they can capitalize on it for the third film, and I think they can once again absolutely hit it out of the park for a third movie. So this is an interesting case because this doesn't happen very often, at least to my knowledge, where again it still hasn't felt like sorry, let me rephrase that. It's been a while since again I've seen a good slasher flick, and I think this totally deserves to be among named one of them at this point. I think that this can easily join an Alien, this can easily join your Ripley type of character. Tree has totally deserved it at this point. I think she is absolutely up there as a absolute unit. A total badass in her own right. And she even gets her man, which is a total... Which, it's fine. It's totally fine. I like that it isn't just about that, though. It isn't just about the romance. That isn't the only reason why she decided to come back to the universe, her universe. But there does seem to be a heavy influence. But the other heavy influence, which I'm really glad that they went into, is the other universe wasn't hers. The memories weren't hers. That wasn't her place to begin with. And I'm glad that they made they sent a very clear message with the mother character and having that really be spelt out. So I'm actually pretty glad that they did that in this case. So again, I'm totally down. I really, really enjoyed this movie, as you can tell. I'm going to go ahead and give this movie an 8 out of 10. I totally dug it. So, yeah, it's just really, really good. I don't know if there are any particular moments that I thought were that bad, but anyway. I hope that they can fool us again in the next trailer, too. I really hope that they do it again for a third time. And again, just absolutely kill it. So that's once again an 8 out of 10. So what I'm going to do is in the link in the description, I'll link my review to the first movie, which will probably be really bad at this point, but I'm still going to do it. And underneath that link, I will link also my Discord page. Please feel free to join. And below that will be my Patreon page. If you believe I've done a good job, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And again, check out those links. They will be in the description. So until next time, everyone, bye-bye.